Hello everyone, today in this video we will fight against the advanced character of our world around us, and this time we will talk about incompetence of politicians, of course, and not only, and consulting. We see currently that ongoing events are associated with social, economical, identity, and in general huge crisis in a very general sense and general. And at the same time, in all of these aspects this crisis touches, at the same time it is very profound. What's the reason of that? The reason of that is simple. First of all, the reason is that our politicians plus the managers who are on behalf of the owners for the last several decades, or even a little bit more, like 5-6 decades, gradually were ruling the corporations, big corporations around the world. Now they are ruling them completely. They are having like democratic politicians 4 or 5 years of the term, and their only commandment, their only goal, one can say, is to increase profits of this company as much as possible in the shortest time possible. So we see that in such circumstances there is no way for long-term planning. There is no way for long-term planning to exist. There is no way for responsibility, and there is no way to implement any reasonable strategy, because reasonable strategy needs long time. There is only tactics. Tactics they can apply to increase the profits at any cost. And for the last few years we saw how they used small Chinese friend, the hysteria around small Chinese friend, to increase the profits of mainly pharma companies, but not only. So we see that these managers and politicians who are also working together with them, arm to arm, actually working together, they can even slaughter the entire branches of the economy just to reach their short-term goals, which are, as I mentioned, increasing the profits for the company they are employed for at the moment. So this is one term, greed and incompetence. These are one of the reasons of our misfortunes that we can, for instance, see now are manifested in France by the huge protests against the reform of the pensionary system, retirement system in France. But we see that this is only the tip of the iceberg of real French problems. They are much more profound and much more diverse. Another reason of these problems we observe that now they are really popping up like mushrooms after the rain in the forest, is that politicians very often on their own, they are extremely incompetent. So if you are extremely incompetent, if you don't know what to do, you are hiring the consulting company, hoping that guys and ladies from this consulting company will be able to solve the problems for you. It's a huge mistake, such assumption, because how should they be able? But thanks to this fact that these incompetent politicians are hiring them, these people have access to the most important and secret documents of the state, with which later they can make deals with other states and other companies. And to these politicians who hire them and pay them, they are telling this what these politicians want to hear, and they always implement semi-solutions that are even in most cases not really adjusted to the system they are working on, to at least to try to, in quotation, solve the problem. That's why such mismanagement and such deception from the side of consulting companies originated in extreme incompetence of current democratic politicians, result in the deepening of the crisis, and results also in the uh, in the sucking money from the country's budget. So this is another factor that contributes to the process that I called before deepening of the crisis. That's why we see why currently, especially many countries, not only Western countries but also other countries that have that their elite, political business elite relies mainly on consulting companies, why they are going down the sink economically and socially. And there is also another factor that we need to take into account, that we tend to forget, especially newer generations. One needs to say openly, if you have a problem, no one will solve you this problem. You need to solve it. Someone can help you, someone can give you advice, but you shouldn't blindly follow any advice unless it's a good one. But to know that the advice is good one, you need to use your brain, you need to have your experience, and you need to confront it with your knowledge and experience. But nowadays, people, also from business political elite, and also majority of people in the other layers of the society, they have such notion. They think in such a way that there will be someone who will be paid, and they will consult the problems with him or her, and this person, with a touch of magic wand, will solve their all problems, and we will be in heaven. No, 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 no. This is a huge mistake, and now we see that this mistake is made on a massive, almost global scale. That's why we see, for instance, in France, just to stick to this example, that few months ago there was a scandal because it was turned out that majority of the bounding economical and social decisions the government of Mr. Macron did was done, actually every move was planned by some consulting companies that really had no idea about the French reality and French system, and they didn't have any idea how to solve French problems either, of course. But thanks to this, that they were hired and heavily paid, they had access to important French documents about the condition of many sectors of French economy and situation of the French state in general, and now they have a lot to trade with. We see this is the way how nowadays business is done, and this business is done, we come back to the beginning of the movie, on the because our elites are extremely incompetent, and if you are incompetent, there will be always a cynical group of people which will be willing to cash on your incompetence. But the problem is that, of course, politicians are not paying with their own money. That's why I have to quote here Thomas Sowell, great, now older guy, but great American conservative thinker, that the most dangerous are people who are not taking responsibility for their actions, and they are not later, taking consequences, not only responsibility, but also they are not taking consequences of their actions. And we have to remember that politicians are having no money, they are spending our money, so-called public money, but there are no public money, these are money of all of us. So for their mistakes, politicians are not paying, so they are not taking consequences for their actions, and this is the largest problem. So that's why take home message from this video: no one will solve our problems, we need to solve it. To solve it, we need to study, we need to think, and we need to also discuss with people who are older and wiser than us, and use their experience and their knowledge and adapt it to our current conditions. Then after doing this, we can find solutions of our problems and solve them properly. Otherwise, it will not work. All the best. Have a nice day. Bye.